Okay, while I get this camera set up so you guys can actually, I don't know, maybe see me more than just shadows. There we go. Hi, guys. Okay. Lynn has coffee. We have some Nespresso. I am not going to fall asleep during this video because today's topic is very important, but it is close to the end of the day. I am tired. I'm dragging, guys. I love summer. Specifically, August is a great time of summer because in Washington we have the Renaissance Fair, and the Renaissance Fair is awesome. I love it. I've been going for a long time, and I just recently went this past weekend and had so much fun. Oh my gosh, seeing people do archery on horseback while hanging sideways off a horse, seeing people joust, seeing people in period wear. I live for that kind of stuff. I am so much more than a cosplayer. If you guys didn't know, I do like a lot of creative endeavors in my life, and I just love any events that get people out of their shell to do something that is out of the usual standard normal summer activities. So guys, I'm really glad that you found this video, that you're going to watch it, because we're going to be talking about a very controversial subject in cosplay today. And it has been a little bit since I've done a video, so please stick with me here, guys. Hopefully I still know how to talk and I won't lose my train of thought. I have quite a bit of notes that I'm going to be going over. But a few years ago, I started this series called the Controversial Cosplay Subject Series, where I would choose a topic that was very spicy and heated in our community, and I would come on here and talk about my personal opinion regarding it. Because a lot of these things are not black and white, there's a lot of gray area. It has been interesting coming on. I've been like a little scared because I'm like, oh God, what if like everyone in the community decides to attack me at once and they hate my opinion and they want to kick me out of cosplay? But then I realized I don't really care because I've been doing cosplay long enough. I feel very comfortable in how I do cosplay, where I go, and the part of the community that I interact with. And I know that the cosplay community has been so awesome. I'm still learning. I mean, here I am, what is it, 16 years later of doing cosplay. I learn all the time. I mean, I see people come on that are just starting out in cosplay and they've already come up with like incredible ideas and ways to do things that I'm like, oh my God, how did I never think of that? So I just love how creative the community has gotten. But one thing that has really irritated me is the way that we have a lot of cosplayers who are very protective of their designs and ideas when it comes to creating cosplay. Now, guys, for anyone else out there who does other creative endeavors, any sort of art or crafts or creation, you will know that you have to have an open mind in order to be a part of an art community. And if you are competitive and covetous and secretive and just like not a very friendly person when it comes to how you do things, you are going to really turn people off when it comes to wanting to learn from you, when it comes to wanting to be with you in like a community aspect. So most of my life I've done creative stuff. I was the kid in elementary school that was known for drawing and painting. I was the person in middle school that was known for crafts, and whenever we did projects in class, everyone always looked at me to come up with some creative idea of how to do it. So most of my life, I have been very like non-secretive when it comes to creation and how I do things. And when people ask questions or they want me to show them how I did something, I've always been very friendly and offering to do that. Because if someone takes my designs and comes up with their own exact replica or copy of it, I don't really see that as a threat. I see it more as like oh my God, I started a trend, or oh my gosh, this person loves my design so much that they want to like pass it off as their own or come up with something that's very similar to it in their own right. But with so many people being in the cosplay community, like right now, we're having a large amount of newer cosplayers coming in. And this is like their first artistic creative endeavor where they feel so proud of it that now they're feeling very protective of their work and wanting recognition for it. So this is a different arena than I have been in before, and I am trying to be sensitive of it. But a big message to anyone out there that does cosplay. The community has always been a very open market sort of place, helping each other, trying to come up with newer ideas on how to do things. But in the end, it is supposed to be for fun. It is not supposed to be a way to make a profit, to trademark things, that sort of stuff. Like, we have had bigger businesses come in and take over that part of cosplay. But deep down, cosplay is about the fun of creativity. So I had to look up, what is plagiarism? Like, what is the actual meaning of it? So first off, if we look at a dictionary definition, it'll give us at least the black and white of what is plagiarism in cosplay. So plagiarism, the definition, is the use of another's work, words, or ideas without attribution. So taking someone's paper that they made about any sort of topic in school and putting your name underneath the from part, that is plagiarism in like the easiest way to understand it. But what about if you take a design? What about if you use the same color scheme as someone else? What about if you have a similar design that is very, very similar to another person's very unique design? There's a lot of gray area when it comes to plagiarism. Now, before we talk about plagiarism, let's talk first about two things I want everyone to keep in mind. So the first thing is that cosplay cannot be trademarked because it is already a recreation of licensed material, characters, or universes. So I want you guys to just like remember that right off the bat. The person who is trying to say they are the original creator of something, or that they own it, or that they should be paid in some way for this, took that idea, like that character, that universe, from another creator already. So there is already a level above you. And I think that is something that we need to like remember to keep everyone in check and keep everyone a little bit humble. The reason why we do cosplay is because we are paying tribute to things that we love or things that we are attracted to in the cartoon, anime, cinematic universes. So just remember that. Okay. The second thing is that there is a rule of the universe that many other creative people have probably heard. And if you've done any creative endeavor in your entire life, you probably know the rule of the universe, which is that if you have thought of it, someone else has already made it or started it. So whenever you come up with an original design, or you decide to put things together in a certain way, there is a very large chance that someone else out there has already done it. So before you get protective and secretive and say, no, I own this, I put it together, I was the first one who ever did this, really stop and think about it for a second, because that's not true. And the rule of the universe also tells us that two original ideas can happen simultaneously, totally randomly, from two totally different people, and still be creative ideas that are original. So when it comes to doing cosplay and saying, I own this, or I did this first, or you have to credit me if you use this type of design or this way of doing things, I think we need to be very, very careful about that sort of language. And I think many cosplayers overuse this language and get way too sensitive about it. So instead of going straight into the gray area, let's go into the black and white area. What does plagiarism actually look like in cosplay? So I'm going to talk about 3 different ways that are actual plagiarism, just black and white, no questions asked. First thing, if you use someone else's pictures to pretend to be them. If you submit someone else's pictures to a cosplay contest, that's not you, that is plagiarism. If you use them in a YouTube video, if you use them on an Instagram account, if you are trying to pass off someone else as yourself, that is plagiarism, because guys, you are not that person. It is so easy. That is so obvious. And most of us have seen catfish and stuff. Like, this happens. This is not a new thing. This has happened for many, many millennia, I'm sure. Even when photographs were just being printed, I'm sure people were mailing them back and forth pretending to be each other. So it's not new. The second thing, making a recreation of something unique but saying you are the original creator and you would like to be credited. So if someone else comes up with a title for something, or like a funny thing, like a joke. If someone comes up with a joke and then you say that joke at a party and you say, oh, and by the way, I made that joke, and you heard it from someone else, that's plagiarism. Now, if you take someone else's design that they posted online, like a picture or an illustration that they made into a costume, and then you went out and chose that exact same material that they chose, everything, I'm talking same color, same cut, everything, and you put it together into a cosplay costume, and then you said, I came up with this design, I made the illustration, I designed it all myself, this is actually my work, that is plagiarism because you didn't. You used someone else's illustration and you used their idea for putting the materials together in that way. The third thing is that companies use photos that are pretending to be their own costumes for sale. And guys, we see this like everywhere. Like it's all over like Temu and eBay and Etsy, where you'll see a costume and you're like, that is so weird because that looks exactly like this other designer I follow. And then you go and look and wow, okay, this third-party seller stole Firefly Path's picture and is saying that they're selling the same gown or the same cape or whatever for like a third of the price. It's not true. What the company is doing is they're trying to pass off those pictures as in it's their own costumes that they're creating. So these three things are the things that I see the most when it comes to plagiarism, when it is in cosplay. And these things are not questionable. They are not, it is not a gray area. It's black and white. These things are just plagiarism. There is no opinion when it comes to them. Now, what I want to talk about more is the gray area of plagiarism. And the gray area is the most important because this is where I see people calling each other out, canceling others, or trying to get people in trouble for doing something that I see as totally fine as a cosplay creator. So that's why we're doing this video today. So keep in mind, I am going to go through the reasons why I don't think this is plagiarism. And again, remember number 1 and 2, cosplay cannot be trademarked because it's someone else's work already. It's someone else's character. And number 2, rule of the universe. Someone else thought of it. Someone else has already done it. Chances are you are not the original creator of anything. And someone else out there may even look like you that does it too. Kind of adds a whole nother level of wackiness. Okay, so what do people claim is plagiarism? Oh, guys, okay. The first thing we're going to talk about is the most claimed plagiarism thing in cosplay, and that is using same or similar ideas for stylized costumes. So we're talking like taking Disney characters and making them historically accurate. Using high fashion, like Sailor Moon based ideas. So instead of having like a character who has a very flat costume, it is done in a very particular style of an established high fashion brand. So these are two of these things that I see happen like all the time. If you come up with an idea for a historically accurate period piece of a costume, like a character that you like, someone else has already done that. Guys, that is not plagiarism. If you do a historically accurate Jasmine and then someone else does a historically accurate Jasmine, that's not plagiarism. That's just done in the same style. And style is not trademarked. Like you can't say, oh, I came up with indie fashion. I came up with historical fashion. I came up with this. That doesn't exist. So you really, really need to ask, is this a trend? Is this a style that someone could easily recreate just as well as I came up with it? The high fashion one is something that I think is a little more recent. I haven't seen it a ton in the past, but using like Sailor Moon characters and doing them in, any really high fashion brand like Chanel or Gucci or something like that. And then someone else does the same recreation. Again, We actually have creators of Sailor Moon. So the woman who created Sailor Moon came out and said that most of the costumes in it were actually inspired by many famous fashion designers in the 90s that she looked up to. So if you think about it that way, if someone read the same article, they're probably going to come up with the same idea as you. So really, that's not plagiarism. The other thing that I see a lot of is people using a very popular style trend. So something that is trending a lot right now, like using Art Deco style or like Hannah Alexander sort of artwork and creating costumes based on that. And then getting mad because someone else did the same character in the same style as you. It happens, guys. And if it's trending and it's popular, someone else is going to do it. So be very, very careful when it comes to doing trends and asking for wanting to be credited with doing that trend, because you are not the original person that came up with the trend. You are just one of the many followers of that trend. The other thing I see is reimagining the same character in the same way. And like we just said, the rule of the universe tells us that if you came up with a character and you were like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if I did a bathing suit version? It's probably already been drawn, illustrated, and an entire short story written about it on fanfiction.net. It's so funny because I think of how many things as like a 13-year-old, 15-year-old that I came up with that I was like, oh my God, that is so deep and interesting and such original work. And then I look back now and I'm like, dude, I got that from like a Disney Channel movie, or, oh, those are literally exact copies of lyrics that I heard in another band's song. I was not writing down deep song lyrics. I was just copying other stuff I had already heard. And it's funny how much our brains kind of capture and keep that we don't realize comes out in our creative endeavors. It's not bad, but you can't claim that other people are copying or plagiarizing you if you're copying from someone else or something else that already exists. Okay, the second thing we are going into is creators making tutorials of things that you also made. One of the biggest things that changed cosplay was the introduction of YouTube into the makerspace as something that like anyone around the world could access. So whether you came from, a remote like country, very tiny town, or whether you were in a big bustling city, everyone had access to the same tutorials because a lot of people were just putting up tutorials for fun. So we had everything from people like recreating Cloud's sword to people doing avatar costumes on YouTube, and everyone's sitting at home following along, trying to do their best to learn how to create things. The mid to early 2000s were such a magical time for cosplay because people were seriously being so helpful and so open to one another. And there was a sense of, we're a big world, we're all connected. Why not help out, your friendly neighborhood cosplayer with how to create things? So when we are talking about people making tutorials for things, like I've made a tutorial. I long ago made a very not greatly filmed tutorial about how to make Ari's orb from League of Legends. Guys, I put together that video based on many, many other things that I had seen and what I came up with deciding was going to be the best way for myself. I didn't come up with it saying, I'm the first person to ever make Ari's orb and I'm famous and please, if you make it, credit me. And if you go into a contest, you have to say that I'm the original designer of it, because I was not. I didn't want that type of credit. So getting competitive when it comes to people releasing tutorials of things that you yourself have made in the same way, you gotta release that shit. I'm sorry, but please don't get protective over it. If you make props out of the same materials, like someone else also uses wood and foam filler, or someone else also uses like EVA foam mats that they bought on Amazon, or whatever, like people have already done this. You are not the first, you are not the original. And while you may feel extremely proud and creative for putting together something in a certain way, asking people to credit you when it comes to making that, again, while it feels really nice for people to say, hey, thanks Lynn for posting Ari's orb tutorial, I was able to make it and bring it to a convention, it was really awesome. That's not why I do the tutorial, and I don't really think it's fair to ask people to have to credit every single creation that they see online and try to recreate themselves. If I post it on a free platform, I want people to use it for free. I want them to get creative, and I take absolutely no ownership in that creation style. Even if they watched my video and they put it together the exact same way and they entered a contest and won $500 in first prize, I wouldn't be sitting there going, oh, they didn't even call my video out. They didn't even credit me. They didn't even get me more viewers or followers. I feel like that is a really bratty way to look at that situation. And so it really irks me when cosplayers do that kind of stuff. If you post it on a free public forum, someone else is going to use it. That's kind of the point of doing the tutorial. And like I said, most tutorials have already been done 100 times over in a million different ways. So cat ears, tails, specific weapons like swords made out of foam, props, things like that. Like everyone's already done it. You are not unique. You are not special. Yes, you put together a tutorial. That was really kind of you to help out. But if you don't want people to use it without crediting you, don't put it up for free. Guys, there's ways you can put it behind a paid platform with an agreement that says if you use this in a contest, you have to credit me. There's ways to do that. Will you get significantly less viewers and buyers? Yes. Will you not gain followers? Probably, but that's the trade-off. Now, another newer issue that I have seen pop up in the gray area of the plagiarism argument is someone using the same, oh my gosh, did I just trip over my word? Someone using the same tutorial that you have used and entering into the same competition as you. So we have a lot of really awesome cosplayers out there that, like I said, have done tutorials online, some free, some behind a paywall, like you have to pay to buy the pattern or you have to pay to get the workbook to follow along with, stuff like that. Kimpatsu Cosplay is one I've followed, Kamui Cosplay, awesome, SFX, props, are really cool on YouTube. So all those, super cool. However, because they are available for the entire cosplay world to use, there is always a chance that when you enter a competition, someone may be using the same tutorials as you in the same way. And while I believe most judges and contests are not going to let in the exact same character done in the exact same way, like I feel like most judges would understand, ooh, that's going to be a conflict of interest. We can't have two Sailor Moon Cosmos in this competition. Their costume looks exactly the same, done in different ways. That's not really fair to like compare them in that way. There is a chance someone in a cosplay contest could use the same tutorial to make a very similar or same item. So if you guys both have characters that have cat ears and tails and you just happen to use the same tutorial with the same materials, you may be in a contest with someone that does have the same creation that you have. And it is not okay to call that plagiarism or copying in any way, because just like entering a contest, it's a game of chance, getting in, getting accepted, and that happening, while rare, can actually happen. If someone you know enters into a contest in the same costume as you, obviously trying to compete against you, is it petty? Yes. But one thing to also remember is that if you use the same tutorial, you have already purchased it from another creator, and you cannot call that original material. So another thing to think about is that if you're going to go to a convention and you have decided to put together a costume that you created from someone else's tutorial, and then you go to that convention and you're like, hey, it's me, it's another cosplayer wearing the same costume I am, and I can tell they followed the same tutorial that I followed. That is not copying. That is not plagiarism. It is just a random happenstance, and it can also happen. Sometimes you also may have people actually copy you. So, I mean, you may put together something in a certain way. Like, let's say you're going to do a Hannah Alexander Sailor Moon, and someone else follows your progress on Instagram or YouTube, and then they decide to also create a Hannah Alexander Sailor Moon and go to the same event as you. Is it petty? Yes, it's very petty. And I would call it kind of strange and kind of weird. But at the same time, again, it is not plagiarism because plagiarism is taking someone else's work that they originally created and then saying it is your work. Both cosplayers have to create it. Both cosplayers have to put it together and sew it and glue it and, everything. There's a lot of work that comes into cosplay, and it's not fair to call another cosplayer who's just doing the same costume as you. That's not plagiarism, and that's using that word very incorrectly. Like I also said, tutorials are meant for all creators, and there are no boundaries, especially when it comes to conventions, contests, things like that. That is just kind of a chance that you take if you go to a cosplay event or you go to a contest. Someone else there may just be wearing the same costume as you. So let's end the debate, guys. Let's understand what is actually plagiarism and copying and what is not. Now, there are many, many gray areas that there really is no good answer. What I would say is that if you do something and you do it in a kind, loving, good, happy, fun way, I really think that is the best way to do cosplay. If you do something and you feel guilty, like you need to hide it or you're scared to talk about it or show it off, that's usually a good chance that there is some plagiarism going on. But again, all of cosplay is just plagiarism of someone else's originally designed character. And so it is not really fair to call things that people are doing that are similar to you, or even exact replicas of the same tutorials, calling those plagiarism. I know, guys, it's really fun to post stuff on Instagram. It's really fun to post stuff on YouTube, vlogs, follow along with me. Let's go to the sewing store. Let's make something. All that stuff's fun. But there is always a chance someone else is going to be doing the exact same project at the exact same time. That's just how the world works. And we need to have an open air and an open heart when it comes to cosplay and stop being so secretive and protective of it. Like they say, you are going to catch a lot more flies with honey than you are vinegar. And so if you are protective and strange and weird and call everyone around you plagiarists, you are not going to make a very good community following. So anyways, I'm going to end today's video here. What do you guys think? Have you ever actually had plagiarism of your own work? Have you ever done something and someone else has accused you of copying them or plagiarizing their work? I'm kind of interested to hear. So anyways, I'll be back again, guys. Talk later and see you soon.